Hello, welcome, and sorry. GJ tried to trick me today. You failed, GJ. Happy. There's been a new trend lately. People are mixing it up on me on purpose, I think. But anyways, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another Maple Bitcoin live stream here. It is Friday, and we are happy to be with you today. I got a full Guinness cup ready to go. I got to attest to something here, boys. I've been spending some time on Instagram in the last couple of days watching some videos, and I came across Backstreet Boys at the Sphere in Vegas. So I've been looking up flights, seeing what the tickets costs were. But the Backstreet Boys were a childhood, my favorite childhood. I remember going 1997 to the Winnipeg Arena to watch the Backstreet Boys, and I want to get back there. So my question to everybody today, we've asked what country people are from, some other questions. The question to start the day today to get some comments going in the live chat is if you could see one band before you die, which band would it be? Do you guys have an answer to that offhand? Which
to be honest, I don't really.
To be honest, I don't really
care about concerts.
No.
Yeah, me neither. I used to love them as like a teenager and stuff, but I don't really enjoy them anymore.
Wow.
Too many people.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
I'd rather be at I don't know. I don't really care for music that much anymore.
That's fair.
Too busy getting my 40 hours per week of Bitcoin podcasts to listen to music. I like Rocky A's answer. Yeah, Coldplay with my mistress. That's my answer.
I would love to see Linkin Park too, although they do have a new girl in place of Chester there, and she's pretty good herself. So I wouldn't mind seeing them. Still, wouldn't be the same, but anyways, this is the Bitcoin show. This one's titled The Official End of Bitcoin Bear Markets. So boys, we're going to be starting the conversation today talking about whether or not, I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're already thinking about this because the bull run, in my opinion, hasn't even started yet. And we're already talking about bear markets. But we have some commentary, we have some thoughts on whether or not we're going to see the typical cycles going forward in Bitcoin. And so where do you guys want to kick this one off while I get through some the comments here?
Yeah, there's a lot we need to talk about. Rajat, you got something there you want to start with?
Yeah, I actually wanted to start with Forrest's video that he made yesterday. I thought that blew my mind. It just made me start thinking differently. So maybe you can talk a bit about what you were talking about with Stretch.
Okay.
And
sure.
and keep in mind that this relates to no more bear markets. This relates to no more Bitcoin winter. And it really made me start thinking. So pay attention to what Jor is saying here. Or sorry,
Forrest.
Pay attention to what Forrest is saying here. Really important information.
Yeah, so none of us can ignore the fact that Bitcoin treasury companies are a big part of the cycle. This cycle, there seems to be a lack of downward pressure of buying. And I think that's largely because of the way institutions buy and the way OTC desks buy as well. OTC desks have to source that Bitcoin to give to the treasuries or to sell to the treasury companies. And so MSTR is the main player in this. And they've since issued a lot of preferred instruments. And these preferred stocks are debt instruments or income-bearing instruments that never come due. And they allow strategy to acquire cash for selling these into the market for the investors that want them. So the most recent preferred instrument they've released is called Stretch or STRC, and this one's incredibly interesting. They have a few mechanisms to make it stabilize. So there's basically going to be, if everything works right, it's still working its way up from IPO price to the stabilized price of between $99 and $101. So we still need to see that play out, which there's no reason to believe that it won't stabilize there.
What's it at right now, Forrest?
I think like 97 or something like that. Okay. I've been riding it up since 92. So wow. To me, it just seems like an easy trade. You could leverage like crazy, buy this instrument, and most likely it's going to get up to, you can make 10% on it if you bought it at 90, right? So the idea with this instrument, though, is there's going to be basically zero volatility or very, very close to zero volatility because they're going to issue new shares of them, call them back. They're going to lower or raise interest rates to keep the price of STRC between $99 and $101. So this effectively is like a financial instrument that is stable, that pays a 9% yield. And that yield is going to go up and down, but it's based off of, I believe, 5% plus the SOFR rate, which is the overnight lending rate, which is what you would get if you invested in a different type of stable product, like a short-term treasury bill or a money market fund, which both stay pretty stable as well. And the reason these products are very appealing to investors is investors can park capital in them, get some sort of yield, and they can sell that instrument without a capital gain or capital loss. And they're positioning themselves in those instruments temporarily while they look for opportunities, or they have those on their because they're sort of forced to have capital for certain reasons. Like maybe they're an insurance company that has a bunch of premiums up front, and they can use that float to invest. And so they invest in something like a yield bearing instrument where they have almost certainty that it's not going to go down in value if those insurance claims came up. So there's all sorts of different, and banks are similar, right? In the way of having a float and people's money that they're investing. So what my thesis is here, and this all has to begin to play out, but this is a very appealing instrument, right? And there's this idea of market timing with Bitcoin, and people will, sell when they believe there's a top. And typically, if you're sort of crypto native, you're gonna position yourself out of Bitcoin, out of altcoins, whatever, into stable coins. But stable coins don't natively give you a yield. If you get a yield from a stable coin, it's because you are now lending it out and rehypothecating it and participating in the DeFi market. However, this natively pays a yield. So my concept here, and this needs to be developed, this needs to be built, and this doesn't exist yet, but there are companies that tokenize assets, financial assets. There's a company called Stoker that actually tokenized MSTR's common share and put it on the Liquid network, which is a side chain of Bitcoin. And this thing trades 24/7. You can get in and out of MSTR when the market's closed. You can get into that position if you're not able to access MSTR wherever your region is. And you could trade this token instead of MSTR, and it's going to reflect MSTR's price. So somebody could create a token of STRC, and you could even fractionalize it down to 1% of it, making it effectively a stable coin. And it would pay natively through the token. And when somebody buys it, they're essentially giving Strategy money when they purchase it, right? They're purchasing it. Strategy is creating the new STRC to fulfill that need. They're taking that capital that you gave them for that instrument, and they're buying Bitcoin with it. So there's this idea of rotation within cycles where people will rotate out of Bitcoin into stable coins. But if an instrument like I'm describing exists that is like a stable coin but more attractive for its yield, people will rotate out of Bitcoin into STRC, and STRC funds MSTR to buy more Bitcoin. So it's almost like there's a no net selling at that point, or very, very little. There's just some slippage basically, and the yield that MSTR has to pay. But you're selling Bitcoin to buy STRC, and STRC is buying Bitcoin. This is a potential that I see if this instrument gets built out.
So SPX 730 there said, yes, the retail trap, no more winter, works every time. So keep in mind that before this, there was no institutional buying. MicroStrategy started last year or last cycle, and they didn't even buy close to how much Bitcoin they have been buying today. So I think their first buy was something like, was it 25,000 Bitcoin?
Yeah,
something
I believe
like
so.
that. Like people think that this cycle is the same as every other cycle, but you have to remember that before this, it was emotional. The buying was emotional. This time, whenever MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin, they're eliminating whole coiners. They're eliminating people from ever being able to buy 0.01 Bitcoin, right? And that's really important because MicroStrategy doesn't plan to sell. And now MicroStrategy, like with STRC, based on what you were saying there, Forrest, with STRC, with STRK, with them selling their shares, they can literally print money to buy Bitcoin. Like they print shares and they dump them on the market. I guarantee you that actually I don't know if this is going to happen, but I think that what MicroStrategy I was going to guarantee that they're not going to lower their interest rates, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to be printing out a lot more shares of STRC, like a lot more shares. And keep in mind how much money is in money market funds right now, like
Oh,
8-9 trillion or some shit.
something like that.
Crazy numbers.
It's a huge amount. They have that in their Q2 earnings. They have basically the different pools of capital that they're targeting with STRC, and it's trillions, as you said. Yeah, it's trillions each one.
And right now, the market cap of STRC is only 2.73 trillion.
Sorry, what was that?
The market cap of STRC right now is 2.73 billion, not trillion, billion. 2.73 billion. So like think about that money that could come in. That could be trillion. This thing could be one of the biggest funds in the world.
Well, realistically, why wouldn't it be? Like when you're adding 5% to the overnight lending rate there, like that's massive. Think about, do we have a total number of like how much capital is actually in that market right now overall?
We'd have to pull it up. I mean, I can do that if you guys continue talking. I can bring that up.
But it's just like a no-brainer. I like the idea. I like the concept of tokenizing it. That's what would make me put some money into Stretch if it was tokenized. If it was like on, if I could store it in my Aqua wallet, for example, and actually hold custody of it myself. Seems like a no-brainer to me. It seems like that actually makes a lot more sense than something like Strategy. So if they've done that with Strategy already, I think that it's kind of a no-brainer to be doing something like Stretch. But I just like overall, like it seems like whatever Strategy is building right now, they have a very long-term vision of it, and they're putting their ducks in order right now. And it seems like, from my perspective anyways, like I was having a conversation with a guy that I was golfing with last night, and he's a strategy holder. He has some Bitcoin. I said that he had to sell some of his to buy a house, which I was like, whatever, that's what it's for, right? But at the same time, I said I sold some of my Strife that I had to buy Strategy. And he's like, did you buy it because, Strategy's been going down? I said, yeah. So it's like any one of these products like Strife, Stretch, whatever the other one is, Stride, I think. Like these are good trades. If you can kind of like keep the majority of it in Strategy, and then when Strategy goes up, maybe you cash them out and put it in something like Stretch. And then when Strategy goes down, maybe you use that and buy back in at a lower rate. Like it's a really good way to trade in and out while getting the volatility there, while still not having any net impact on the Bitcoin market itself, right? That's kind of what you're saying here, Forrest.
Exactly.
Is like that no Bitcoin's being sold there. It's just like moving from one instrument to another, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. And it's moving from you personally owning Bitcoin to MSTR owning Bitcoin, and therefore making it more difficult on average to acquire that Bitcoin back for yourself. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some sort of downward volatility. I mean, of course there is. It's Bitcoin we're talking about. But there's a lot of reasons why it can be muted. So this is the short duration credit assets that STRC targets. Money market funds alone, 7.4 trillion, short-term treasury bills, 5.8, USD bank accounts, 18 trillion, crazy. And these are earning 0.1 to 4%. And that's just in the US, right? Stable coins, 250 bill, corporate debt, 1.4. So huge market there.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like the money market funds is 4x what Bitcoin's total market cap is right now.
Yeah.
That's
something to be insanely bullish about just in regards to Bitcoin itself.
And you have to remember, like with how this thing is going right now, there's the money that's going to come in. It's going to be buying at the margin. So they have to convince people to sell. And if we couldn't go below the previous high, so there was a post on X that I saw where the previous high was at like 112 or 111K or something, close to 111K. It bounced right off that, and now it's going back up. So there's no sellers below that. I mean, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if we go below 100K at some point. But I think the bull run is like the main part of the bull market is just about to get started, because keep in mind that there's a lot of pain right now in the market. There's a lot of people selling their houses. I haven't seen so many houses on sale in my area ever. I moved here about 4 years ago. I've never seen this many houses for sale.
Mhm.
And they're like neighbors are selling their houses now. In one neighborhood, I would have probably seen 0 houses for sale before, maybe out of 200-300 houses. Now you're seeing 20, 30, 15 houses for sale. So people can't afford their expenses right now. They can't afford to pay for their mortgages. So the money printer is coming. It
Mhm.
isn't here yet. Once the money printer hits is when you're going to see the people who have that money in money market funds actually put it into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's when you're going to see it break, I think, crazy levels. So there's a trend that's been going on with Bitcoin for about 8 years now, and it's having a really difficult time getting through it. And once it gets through these trends, I don't know how realistic it is, but we could go way, way higher within months. So
Yeah, and there's a few other things too, and I'm not ruling out a bear market for Bitcoin, but there needs to be a few things to happen for that to happen, which I have not seen yet, which is over leverage in the system and a rapid price increase, because that is typically what front runs a bear market. Is sort of somebody might call like a bubble within the market, or a blow off top, or something like that. And then a lot of people get into that position over levered. And once it starts naturally correcting back down, which markets do when they go euphoric, there starts to be a cascading liquidation event of over leveraged positions. And so that's typically part of the mechanism that creates a bear market, but we haven't seen that yet. We've seen a slow grind upwards. But if we did see that, I would consider that there could be a bear market, right? So, but we just haven't yet. So, until that happens, it's up and to the right, stair stepping, grinding upwards, and people are expecting it in October, right? Like that's people are just like looking at time frames. Some people, they're saying, oh, historically, this is when a bear market's going to start. And it's like, what are the catalysts for that, right? Is liquidity drying up? Is there a lot of leverage in the system? Has something within the Bitcoin fundamentally broken, or surrounding it, like FTX and BlockFi and these kind of things? And I just feel like all of that is less likely. It's not out. Everything is probabilistic. There still is the probability of a bear market for sure. But, and that probability increases if we see some of these things. But until then, the probability actually decreases, because Bitcoin is not a penny stock anymore. People don't think it's going to zero. The past bear markets were driven by people thinking it was going to go to zero or next to zero, right? People understand the fundamental value of this now, or a vast majority of the holders do. And if you look at it compared to other assets in the similar size, you're looking at, Amazon, Nvidia, the Meg 7, right? Do these things draw down 90%? Takes a lot for them to draw down 30%, right? And they have way less volatility than Bitcoin does, but the size of the market also helps stabilize it to some degree as well.
I like to think about Bitcoin kind of along the lines of what you're talking about there, Forrest. I like to think about Bitcoin as like a house with foundation being built right now. And I think if you think of Bitcoin as like 100-year house project, every time the price runs up, there's a new crop of people that get into it, a new group of people who are interested in it. The majority of them end up selling it because they see it go from, 20,000 to 40,000. They got 100% profit. They cash out. Then they kind of back off for a while. They'll eventually get back in. But I like to think about every person who understands Bitcoin kind of as like a brick in the foundation there. And there's going to be storms, there's going to be issues, there's going to be things that come up. But like as more and more people understand what this asset is and the value that it has, that just makes this whole thing stronger. It makes the foundation even stronger than it was yesterday. So when you start compounding time here and people understanding of Bitcoin, there's less emotion involved, there's less volatility, less people think it's a penny stock and something that you trade. More and more people are seeing this as a very long-term asset. And every person that joins this network with that mentality makes this asset that much stronger, because they're not going to sell when there's any sort of like windstorm or something like that, we'll call it, like something blows through. They're not going to sell it. They're solid. It's a brick in the foundation. It's going to continue to get stronger and stronger. And I don't think that there's anything that really reverses that. That's the other thing too, is like this is a one-way street. And it only compounds with time. So it's pretty exciting, I think, kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, and there's that strength is driven by capital flows into this asset and by holders, right? Who are the holders and what is their conviction in this asset? And as I said, there are less and less people that think this is going to zero, because every single cycle it's getting proven more and more. And I actually want to address something here that Buck 52,000 said, right? Altcoin holders are the ones who are going to get wrecked. Altcoin holders, a lot of them realize that their bags are heavy and they're going down in value compared to Bitcoin. And a lot of the narrative of these things is some hype, but also the people buy them with the idea of being able to trade them to get more Bitcoin. Because even a lot of the altcoin holders know that Bitcoin is the true innovation in this space. It's the store of value. And when something's a store of value, it means that it increases in value, right? It increases in purchasing power. So we're talking about TradFi getting invested into Bitcoin through the ETFs, through treasury companies. But I also think the crypto space is going to continue to put its purchasing power into Bitcoin. You can see these tiny windows of dips of Bitcoin dominance, and those things close so quickly because everybody's bags are heavy, and on a pump, they're getting rid of it. They're getting out of their crazy speculation, nonsense, hype altcoins, XRP and whatnot, right? The narratives change on these things every week, and there's no actual value proposition. And so they're moving that into what they actually believe in, which is Bitcoin. So even that capital is flowing into Bitcoin.
There have been a couple of comments from Human God saying, oh, it's going to 30K, then it's going to 40K. I mean, I think I've seen comments from this person for quite a long time now, and they've been wrong over and over again. So try to make sure that you are sure that you know what the intentions of the person that you're taking information from, what their intentions are. Make sure that you know what their intentions are. If they're playing a different game from you, then you're screwed, right? There are some people who are playing very short-term games. Right now, they're playing very, very short-term games. They think that they know everything based on 3 cycles in Bitcoin. And again, this is something that you have to understand, that retail investors are extremely, extremely emotional. Institutional investors aren't. They don't care about getting 5, 10, 15x returns and then dumping when the price is at the bottom. That's not what they do. They buy at the bottom, and then they sell when they get 40, 50% returns. And then when they figure out how Bitcoin works, they never sell again. So MicroStrategy is not going to sell. That's almost 650,000 Bitcoin that's gone. They're creating newer ways to buy more Bitcoin. So you know for a fact that whenever retail investors sell, that Bitcoin is going to be bought up quick. So you can sell if you want to. It's up to you how you do it. I mean, again, like Forrest said, there could be a bear market. I'm not saying there won't be, but I think that the bear market isn't going to be as bad as people think.
Yeah.
Right. So if it is, like, let's say it is 80%, I think what's going to happen is it goes to $1 million and it drops to 200K. So buying
that's what has to happen for a bear market, right? There has to be that euphoric rise before it drops so much.
And if you're expecting that it'll drop 90%, and that's never happened before, maybe it will. Maybe it'll go to $1 million, then it'll drop back down to 100K, right? I don't know what the chances of that are. For that to happen, you'd have to have a lot of selling, and you'd have to have no buying. And
yeah,
if governments start buying, that's the natural progression of this. If governments start buying, they're literally going to print money to buy Bitcoin. How are you expecting it to go to 30K in the last 2 years? Basically you're expecting that in the last 2 years Bitcoin's price should have only doubled, when there's way more buying and there's people who are holding on for longer and longer. There are more people who are learning about this thing. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be the same. I don't think it's ever going to be the same again. Once there's going to be a point where we never go below 100K again. I don't know if that's happened already. I mean, I'm sure it hasn't. Maybe we'll go back down to the last bull market top. Right? What do you guys think of that? I don't even think that's gonna happen.
That would be like
the
67K or something.
68, 69K. Yeah.
Well, but how's it going to happen? Because the only way, in my opinion, that would happen if it happened tomorrow, because historically here, it's usually the fall. People fall asleep during the summertime. Nobody really cares too much. The only people buying Bitcoin right now are psychopaths like us and Wall Street. Everybody else does not care about Bitcoin. So once we see in the fall here, when things start moving, maybe they lower the rates, maybe they don't. I think either way, there's going to be a huge run up right now. There's just way too much demand. I honestly don't know how it's being kept at this price based on all the demand and the supply that's bought up essentially for the next 2 years. It just doesn't really make any sort of sense in my head. So if we run up, there's no way it's going back down to like 64K. The only way it would happen would be if it happened at this level. And I just don't see any signs of like us moving down from here or any reason for us to move down from here.
Exactly. What is the reason? What is the reason? There's no reason.
Yeah, you can't just say it's not different this time when it clearly is. It's clearly there's different players in the game here. You can't just say it's not different. But even the game of cryptos here, how many examples have you guys seen?
Yeah, 401ks is another thing.
Right?
Yeah.
401ks, exactly.
They announced that yesterday. Like, this is different now. It's not the same game.
I know multiple people, like even Gen Z BTC, friend of the channel. He sold all of his stuff from his 401k so that he could buy Bitcoin because he couldn't get access to Bitcoin through his 401k. Like, that's a game changer. Like, and this is huge.
So again, the comments that are coming in from Human God here, he said, absolutely, I'm not going to be left holding the bag like those who bought in 2021. See, there's a bias here. You have a bias that you think that things are going to repeat the same way over and over again. And I'm sorry, but I think you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
The worst thing that you can do here is sell your Bitcoin, I think, because you know that eventually it's going to $1 million, it's going to 10 million, it's going to $100 million. The worst thing you can do here is to sell your Bitcoin and expect that the US dollar's value will go up. Jor, can you just share my screen there?
Yep.
Look, and the thing is too, is if you're in spot Bitcoin, these cycles shouldn't even matter at all. Like if you're in spot Bitcoin and have a longer term time horizon, none of this matters. If you're in leveraged short term options or perps or something like that, then this stuff matters a lot more to you. And you need to figure out, I mean, you're timing the market if you're in a option or a perp.
Yeah, I'm not sure how relevant this is anymore. I agree with what you were saying there, Forrest. This is Google Trends, and it shows you the search results for Bitcoin worldwide over the last 5 years. I know that there may be more people who are maybe looking on ChatGPT now, and that probably doesn't show up on here. Maybe there's more people looking at other AI platforms, but it wouldn't be nearly zero. Google is still most people's homepage. Most people still don't know what AI is. So the fact that we're not even close to the searches that we had in the end of November, and that was as a result of the election, it means
we had a little bit of euphoria, and we had a pullback after that spike in November.
And that's how Bitcoin works. It makes you bored. It kills your enthusiasm. Every single person that I know who I've spoken to about Bitcoin, they always just forget about it, right? They don't care so they look at it when it's up, and then after it starts falling, they lose interest. They stop their DCAs, and they don't even care about it anymore. And then when it's back up again, they come back to me after the next one. They're like, oh, do you think it's still the right time to buy Bitcoin? Instead of playing those stupid games, instead of wasting your time, just keep buying. You don't have to try to time the market. You don't have to try to perfectly get the top, sell the top, and then perfectly buy the bottom again. You don't need to do that. You also have to consider taxes. So one of the things that I think is going to stop a lot of people from selling is the fact that they have to pay 20, 30% taxes on capital gains. If there are taxes on capital gains, you have to make sure that Bitcoin's price pulls back enough for you to make up for the taxes.
Yeah.
Just to make up for the taxes. So you're going to have to wait for a 20 to 30% pullback just to make up for the taxes. What if it never even pulls back that much? What if it pulls back 20 to 30% and then it never and then it recovers, it reverses, and you're waiting. You're still sitting on the sidelines, and now you have less Bitcoin. As soon as you sell, you have less Bitcoin than you started with. That's immediately. As soon as you sell. So if you have 10 Bitcoin today, or if you have, let's say, 0.1 Bitcoin today, you sell. Let's say you made a really good profit. You made a really good amount of profit in terms of dollars. Let's say you have to pay 20% of your total stack to your government as capital gains tax. You're automatically at 0.08 Bitcoin. You lost 0.02 Bitcoin. You have to change your perspective. You can't keep thinking about how you're going to get more dollars by selling your Bitcoin and then you're going to buy back and you're going to sell Bitcoin, buy back. That's a fiat mindset. That's fiat games. You are playing fiat games and you're gambling. The entire fiat system is based on gambling. When you sell your Bitcoin for fiat, you are gambling. You're giving away your freedom, your financial just wellness for pieces of paper. You're giving your life away for pieces of paper. So don't play these kinds of games that Human God is playing. Even if it does pull back, I don't care. I'll buy more. I don't need this Bitcoin, like you said there, Forrest, like you were mentioning there, Jor. I don't need this Bitcoin for 10, 15, 20 years. So I don't care. This isn't my rent money. So to me, round tripping it, I don't care. If it goes to $1 million and it comes back down to 100K, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So think of it from that perspective. Make the decision, like somebody said, their hodlers are undefeated. 100%. Don't make stupid decisions. If you fuck around, you find out.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to trade an asset that's currently valued at 115,000 US dollars that's worth millions.
Yes.
So you're trading something that's 10, 20 times undervalued, like in reality.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
Exactly. It's very hard to put a metric on that right now, but it's like we all know that this is so undervalued and you're trying to trade it in the short term to acquire more of it. I understand that. The idea of that is to get more. But as Rajat said, as soon as you sell it, you're fighting against your current stack that you had. And with capital gains, and you have fiat now instead of instead of Bitcoin. So you're just in a bad spot. You don't want to be holding fiat, in my opinion, at all.
I think if you're thinking of this as game theory, you're on the wrong side of it, because most people have no idea what Bitcoin is. 99% of people have no clue. So there's always going to be more buyers than sellers. There's another comment there from Human God. There's always going to be more buyers than sellers. Until Bitcoin is widely adopted, even the people who have Bitcoin already are still buying. I don't know a single person who owns Bitcoin and knows how it works who doesn't want more. Right? Like you're playing a game that you're going to lose at. If you're trying to time the market, you're going to lose.
I also think that there's the idea of like an S curve with something like Bitcoin, where the early adopters see huge gains, something like investing in Apple, and Apple goes up a bunch. But once it becomes common place, that is when it's raising in value really rapidly, really aggressively. And then it sort of stabilizes after that. But we are like on the precipice of like global adoption to some degree. But we're not there yet, right? So when that happens, that's going to be a huge amount of value going into Bitcoin. I'm here for that. I don't want to miss that,
100%.
right? Bitcoin, the other thing too is you're trading an instrument that moves so fast. And if you have price targets and if you think you're smarter than the cycles or smarter than the market and all this kind of stuff, like you got to be so quick. I don't think anybody should do that. I think hodling is the best strategy by far in my mind with Bitcoin.
Jor, can you share my screen again there?
Yep.
I want to show this chart. I think this chart is almost like predicting the future with the US dollar. So this is the Naira price of Bitcoin. Right now, one Bitcoin is 178 million Naira. And you're probably thinking, oh, this guy's crazy. Why would you even compare the Naira to Bitcoin? That makes no sense. But they're both shitcoins. The US dollar and the Naira are both shitcoins.
They're both backed by nothing.
Trash.
Yeah.
They can both be printed. So right now the Naira is just suffering, but it's because it has a weaker economy. The US dollar has a stronger economy, but Bitcoin's economy is way stronger than even the US dollars. It'll eventually be way stronger. So you're going to see that, like, okay, so let's take a look at this. At one point, you could buy one whole Bitcoin. Sorry, my camera's in the way here. You could buy one Bitcoin for 10.21 Naira.
Okay.
10 Naira. Today it's 178 million.
That's crazy.
Right. Like, okay, you can see here. It went from 90,000 Naira in May of 2016 to 189,000 Naira in a month. Or sorry, no, in a year. Is that in a year?
You know what this makes
Yeah,
me
it's
think of?
in a month.
You
Sorry,
know
go
what
ahead.
this makes me think of, Rajat, is somebody that's trying to time the market, they're selling back into Naira to some degree, right? They're selling back into this currency that is just going to go down in value rapidly over time.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Saylor has that quote. It's like, there was never a good time to sell your US dollars to buy the Argentinian peso. Like, not really, right? Like, and you know, it's the same thing. It's all relative, right?
And I bet you that people who are in Argentina, some of the people are probably telling you, why would you want the US dollar? You should hold the Naira. Your expenses are in Naira. You can't even use the Naira. You can't even spend the US dollar here. I guarantee you there are people thinking that in Argentina. There's probably people thinking that in Nigeria, in every country where they save in dollars. There's probably somebody thinking, oh yeah, you should just hold on to the currency that your government creates for you. And that's the wrong way to go. The US dollar is the world reserve currency for a reason. And even the US dollar is dying compared to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Great rant there, boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I saw Buck52's comment here, said one day you'll wake up with the amount of sats you have will be the amount of sats you will have forever. Because today, like, you can trade $1 US for 880 sats. There's going to be a day where you can trade maybe $880 for one sat. Like, that's coming. It's inevitable. Like, I don't know the time frame on it. I don't know how long this is going to take. But the point here is we're comparing two different things. And that's why even when we're talking about cycles and prices and this kind of stuff, it's like, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin does not care what the fiat system is doing. And the only reason, the whole disconnect here between Bitcoin being $100,000 US and $100 million US is lack of education. Hardly anybody understands this asset. And kind of the point that I was trying to make before with the house and the foundation there is, like, every day there's more and more people who are starting to understand this asset. And I don't know a single person who has spent over 100 hours in Bitcoin that's decided, you know what, this Bitcoin thing's not for me. I'm going to go back to the fiat system. So that it only moves in one direction. And that's the whole point here. So the money printer moves in one direction. They can't stop doing that at this point. It's impossible. And on the flip side of that, in the Bitcoin world, in the Bitcoin economy, it's moving one direction as well. Every person who understands this asset, understands the value proposition, and decides to store their wealth in Bitcoin, they're never going back to that old system. So one's going nosedive downwards and one's going on a rocket ship upwards in terms of purchasing power. And so it's like, you know, nothing else really matters in my opinion. Like, the cycles, like, I love what you guys are talking about in the sense is, like, people in this chat right now, I'm sure if it crashed to $60,000 tomorrow, everybody would be shitting their pants, selling everything that they have to buy more sats.
This chart is perfect. The early adopters, that's where we are, right? Look at how vertical it goes. Early majority and late majority. Like, that's the major price action. And we're not
and
there
that's
yet.
That's a long ways to go there.
Yeah.
Even in our chat, there's probably going to be people who are doing what you said there, Jor, where they're buying whatever they can. They're buying whatever Bitcoin they can. They're selling their Bitcoin to buy, or they're selling whatever they can to buy Bitcoin. But there's also going to be people in our chat who are doing the exact opposite. They're selling Bitcoin because they're scared if the price drops to 60K, because they expect it to go to 30K. Right. There was a comment there. These are the kinds of things that from Arume, these are the kinds of things that a lot of people these are the reasons why people are being held back from buying Bitcoin. So he said, Bitcoin is kind of outdated. Hackers can easily steal Bitcoin from you. And he was referring to the 7.4 Bitcoin. That's like
Okay.
that's like dropping $100 bill on the ground and then blaming the US dollar.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you're literally giving your private keys to someone else. And the guy, he admit his mistake. He said, I made a mistake. I put my private key somewhere where it wasn't supposed to go. I gave access to my Bitcoin to some random person who was trying to scam people. Like the person admit it, and then like these are the kinds of comments that hold people back from buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you
Right?
give a thief a key to your door,
Yeah.
you know, your house is not secure anymore.
Like you have a Ferrari, you leave the door unlocked or you leave the door open. Somebody's going to try to get the opportunity to take that Ferrari from you. Right? If you
Yeah.
leave your key in the ignition, you leave the door wide open, somebody's going to take it from you, even if they didn't have a chance. That's exactly what happened in this case. They downloaded a fake wallet, a fake app, like an app that shouldn't even have existed. It was Apple allowed it onto their system without doing the due diligence and making sure that it's there. So what you were saying there, Jor, that chart that you showed, I think that's really important because we are at the very beginning. We're at the very bottom because people still have no clue of even the fundamentals of what Bitcoin is. And these are the people who probably shouldn't take self-custody.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to mention one more thing about the cycles. You know, it's when you look into trading, there's these trading ideas that end up working until they don't. And when they don't, they can go against you really hard, right? So this idea of the cycles, if everybody knows about them, those are going to be the opposite is going to be traded at some point. Now, is it this cycle? People thought it was last cycle, right? And so people have PTSD when people hear us talking about stuff like this, right? They think, oh, you know, last cycle, same people are saying the same stuff. Eventually, these trends do break. And what I'm seeing here going on is, again, there can be some things that happen for the cycle to continue, but I haven't seen them yet. So it's invalidated until those things happen. And I think you don't want to trade as though you assume that everything will continue happening. Like even the halving, right? I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on this. The halving is a big part of the 4-year cycle, right? It happens roughly every 4 years. But the halving is half as much, like the supply gets cut in half every time, and that's a supply demand adjustment. But the halving is also half as effective as the previous halving. So
psychologically, I think, and yeah, but kind of my take on that is I like the concept of I agree with it. I think that the cycles, the halving cycles, are going to have less of an impact. But I also think that we have to put things into proper perspective in the sense that even though in 50 years from now, there's going to be less, like let's say we cut from half a Bitcoin a day to 0.25 of a Bitcoin per day. At that time, the 0.5 of a Bitcoin and the 0.25 of a Bitcoin are going to be much larger capitals of pools of capital at that point compared to today. So let's say that whatever it is, the annual amount of new Bitcoin created every year, the fiat equivalent to that, I think will be about the same at that time. Like that's how these cycles work. So that's the design of Bitcoin, that even though it keeps getting cut in half, the price essentially doubles or more every cycle. So it's all about the perspective. So yes, I think that there will be much less of an impact because there's going to be less coins flying around at that time. But the coins that are flying around at that time are going to be much more valuable. And so I do think it is still going to be an impact because let's say that there's 2 million Bitcoin on exchange today. That's what we're told anyways, 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges. Let's say that that's 20 Bitcoin at that time. But it's going to be way more like capital that's making up that 20 Bitcoin at that time. So I do agree in the sense that it's going to go down. It's kind of hard to explain this. I don't know if you guys are kind of following me here or not. In terms of it's still going to be a huge deal, even though Bitcoin wise, it's going to be less. I think like overall capital, it's still going to be a huge thing to have the new supply cut in half based on the demand and the people who actually want to hold Bitcoin at that time.
Because the purchasing power of those Bitcoin go
Yes.
up in comparison so that it ends up still having a similar effect. But
yes.
I do think it's muted though. Like I think
I agree.
the effectiveness of the halving goes down, and that's why the cycles have also seen diminishing returns again until they don't, because the adoption cycle will make up for that, in my opinion.
Yeah. So kind of what I'm trying to say here is, like, let's say that Saylor buys 2 years worth of supply, and that's what's, pretty much delayed this next bear market, from our opinion. At that time, he might only need to buy 2 Bitcoin to have the same kind of impact.
Right.
So it's like, even though it keeps getting cut in half, it's still relevant, or it's still, it's hard to explain, but you kind of have to put yourself out 50 years and look what the price of Bitcoin would be, and the impact of like a very small amount of a Bitcoin moving around, and what kind of impact that would have on the total market. So like, yeah, it's interesting to think through, though. That's my favorite part about Bitcoin, is like trying to think through these things into the future, because there's just not a whole lot of people that are doing it.
I think there's going to be more of an impact from like the halvings. I don't know if it'll make that much of a difference anymore. I think it'll maybe make people have FOMO, because they'll know that Bitcoin's not going to increase in supply, right? No matter what happens, no matter which miner goes bankrupt, the supply isn't going to change, right? But that's going to create some FOMO. But I think the supply and demand will be affected more by so this cycle was institutional buyers. I think next cycle will probably be retail sellers, right? So retail sellers who just want to give away their Bitcoin, they see their Bitcoin go up like 5, 10, 15 times, and they give it away. So that's going to add a lot of selling pressure to the market, right? So it's going to fulfill a lot of demand. Maybe price goes down, but at that point,
What if you can lend against it, though?
Oh yeah, that changes things too, right? See, that's the thing. This financial, like, there's so many angles to this. A lot of people are like, even I hadn't even considered that when I was just saying what I was saying. But like, there's so many angles to this, and I feel like the only thing that you really know for a fact is the supply is finite.
Yep.
Everything else is speculative.
The other thing too, Rajat, is that if you buy some Bitcoin and you send it to your cold storage wallet, and you forget about that for a while, you're going to have the exact same amount of sats in there as when you sent it for when you open it up. And I think that is such an underrated and underappreciated aspect of Bitcoin. It has no leaks in it. There's no fees. There's no insurance. There's no property tax that take away the value that you put into that thing. And so we could talk all we want about fiat price and cycles and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. You send sats to your cold storage wallet, nothing will change in that wallet. There's no leaks in this thing. And I think that that's just such a huge, I don't know, like, idea in terms of people storing their value. Because right now, if somebody goes to work for 2 weeks, they get paid. Either they store it in fiat or they store it in Bitcoin. Those are 2 different batteries. The fiat battery leaks. They might even store it in real estate. The real estate battery leaks. There's property taxes. There's all these different fees that are associated with that. Bitcoin has 0 leaks. And so it doesn't really matter what's happening in this circus that is fiat world. That amount will not change. And that's a big deal. There's a couple different things I want to share here. We got some zaps coming in here, boys. We got one from Pauly D. 7,777 sats from Pauly D. So I have a question here that he asked. I want to make sure we get to that one. Zap is equivalent to a super chat. If you send in a zap with a question, we will address it. We will answer the question. And here's a fatty, 21,888 sats. And the comment says, "Good morning, team. Come on down to the Williamston Fair in Williamston, Ontario. Just 1 hour from Ottawa and Montreal. Rides, games, live shows, and more. Livestock shows and more. Come find me there at the Book Garden, a mobile bookshop, and we can talk books, Bitcoin, and how hot it is." So that is from our guy, Matt. I believe, Matt. And that is Williamston, Ontario there. So if you're in the area, that's, is that this weekend?
I love that. It's like we're getting sponsored by people that are viewers. That you can send in a zap and we read an ad for you. That's cool.
Promote your idea or your product.
Yeah.
So 21,888. Wow, fatty. And then we got 150 sats sent anonymously, and then 5251. I think that's no message there, but I think that's from our buddy Bill. So thanks everybody. That's the QR code right beside Rajat's head there. If you're watching it on your phone, you can also send to maplebitcoin@coinos.io, and we will read the comments associated with it. What's the threshold though for F-bombs? 10K?
Yeah.
So if you want us to
free today.
What's that?
I gave one for free today.
Yeah, you did.
Did you? Oh, I missed that.
Grunky Tonk says my comments are being deleted. I don't think so. I don't.
It shouldn't be.
No.
There is a spam filter, so I don't know if you're swearing or something, it might spam it
or links.
Not make it. Yeah, or links. Yeah, certain things don't get through, but no, none of us are deleting your comments.
So where do we go from here, boys? I mean,
let's go with that super chat before we do anything else. There was a super chat from Nav.
Okay, so Nav, one of our most consistent super chatters of the channel here, says, are y'all still going to buy when Bitcoin's in the millions and you can't even put a dent in your amount of your stack?
As long as somebody's willing to accept my fiat that's worth nothing, I'll be buying Bitcoin. Doesn't matter what the fiat price is.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, keep in mind that your income will probably also increase, right? So
in fiat terms, yes.
In fiat terms, your income will probably increase. So you'll still be able to buy some Bitcoin. And if you keep creating value, if you keep, I mean, obviously it's gonna get harder. It's going to get more difficult for you to buy Bitcoin. Like $100 today is probably not going to buy even close to what it can buy. Or sorry, $100 in 20 years is probably not even going to buy close to what it can buy today. So of course it's going to make a difference. But if you're producing more value than you consume, then I think it's worth it to keep buying Bitcoin. At that point, I mean, if Bitcoin's in the millions of dollars, maybe you won't even have to think about this because you'll be paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like at that point, Bitcoin will probably be the medium of exchange and unit of account.
Your salary is going to go down forever against Bitcoin, though.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that's for sure, and that's kind of my theory. There is like one day, I don't know what price it'll be at, but like you imagine today with Bitcoin being at $100,000 US and $1 buys you 880 sats. Like it really doesn't take much dollars to actually get a sizable amount of sats. But in the future, that's going to go down to that $1 is going to buy you 8 sats. And then that $1 is going to buy you 8 microsats. And so at some point, you're going to be able to work as hard as you want. And you're just not going to, your wallet's not going to move that much, which is a good thing, though. It sounds like a bad thing that you're not going to go up from there. But if you think about where the world will be at that point, all the sats that you've accumulated up into that point are going to have way more purchasing power than they did. Like I've noticed that from Bitcoin going from 50,000 to 120,000, how much more I can buy, how much more purchasing power I have. So imagine what it's going to be like when Bitcoin goes from $100,000 in fiat terms to $1 million even. Like you're going to get it 90% off of everything that you need. You're going to have 90% off of everything. Or is it even more than that? No, 90% off.
Just like your cost is just going to keep decreasing. Right. Even
your cost of living. Yeah.
Can you share my screen? Sure.
Yep.
Even your wage keeps going up in terms of fiat currencies. It keeps going up and it keeps going up. And this is the illusion, right? This is the thing that they feed you. They feed you this. They try to get you to believe this psyop that you're getting paid more when you're really not. Your income may have gone, even if your income doubles in 20 years, you're probably behind where you were today. So let's say, for example, in the next 20 years, your income doubles, you're behind where you are today. So if you price it, so in this case, the labor is being priced in a fake form of money that can be created out of nothing. So there's more and more money being added to the system. That money is, the minimum wage is increasing over time. You keep seeing that your income grows, but if you value that in a real currency, like this is what you see. Your annual wage at one point was 400,000 Bitcoin. And then at one point it was at 37 Bitcoin. Then it went up to 205 Bitcoin. Then it fell to 1.12 Bitcoin. This is in 2021. Then this is the median income in the US. And it went up to 4.09 Bitcoin. Now it's all the way down at below 0.7 Bitcoin. So you'll
Mhm.
keep getting paid. I think that instead of having to go through that middleman of the US dollar at millions of dollars, Bitcoin will be the medium of exchange. We're going to be valuing things in Satoshis.
Yeah, it makes no sense to have the friction of the US dollar at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty. Oh yeah, did you guys see this? 50% off program with Sheets and Flexa. Did you guys see that in the US?
I saw that it immediately gets converted into fiat on their balance sheet. So
Pretty smart though.
Yeah. Is it really 50% off? I didn't look too much into it. That seems crazy to me.
Well, here's the thing. Like I worked at a gas station for a year. That's what made me go to college and get educated, because I knew I didn't want to pump gas when it was minus 40 at 6 a.m. But I worked at Husky for about a year and a half. And the gas stations don't make any sort of money off their gas. It's all like the the products inside, like the chips and drinks and stuff like that. And so they're pretty highly, like there's high margins on those products, right? So even at 50%, I'm guessing that they still make money. It's only from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it's only for purchases under $15. So they're not, you can't get gas with that or anything. So there's pretty much people buying chips and slushies and stuff that they make a shitload off of anyways. Pretty smart though. Good marketing play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's part of the adoption cycle is people getting in on Bitcoin just for the marketing of it. But the marketing of that will also incentivize other people to look into it, which when they do, they go down the rabbit hole and they answer all the questions that our FUD machine in the chat is spewing out a roommate. They end up working through all of these FUD things and start to realize that that Bitcoin has superior qualities compared to anything else out there.
Yeah, and this person said, a roommate said, most people won't buy a single Bitcoin that costs 500K. They weren't even buying a whole Bitcoin when it was at a fraction of a penny. So like at that point, maybe they'll want to buy fractions of Bitcoin. Maybe they'll want to get 0.001 Bitcoin, 0.0. Maybe they'll be able to get 100,000 Satoshis at that point. So you're saying it like most, like Bitcoin is affected by it. Bitcoin doesn't care.
It doesn't matter.
The wealthiest people in the world are going to continue to buy even when it costs 500K. And that's because it's the best money in the world.
It's the best store of value.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, okay, so once, let's say what's the question here? What's in the millions? Let's say that that's 5 years away. Put yourself in your own shoes here, which is pretty easy to do, and think out 5 years. Like, are you going to have more conviction over Bitcoin? Or are you going to be more knowledgeable? Where are you going to be? And I'm guessing that in 5 years from now, you're going to have a much better understanding of the value proposition of Bitcoin, the fact that it is the best store of value. So why would you decide to store your value in something else after having to go through that, regardless of what the fiat price of Bitcoin is? It's the best store of value. So when you earn a profit every month, you put it into the best store of value. That's all there is to it. Like it's really not, people love to complicate this stuff, and fiat loves to play games and stuff like that, but it's really not that complicated.
It's also, it's also like a nominal bias, right? Eventually we'll switch to Satoshis, or the actual units that we use on the Bitcoin network. And right now you can get 8 or 9 Satoshis for a penny. So even when it's 500,000, right? How many Satoshis can you get then? You can still get what, like 2, for a penny? Right.
It feels like a roommate just went through like a list of things that they could say to trigger Bitcoin maxis, and I think I'm going to ban them for now.
Do you guys know that?
Leave them.
You guys know there's the FUD dice. Have you heard of the FUD dice?
Oh, no, I haven't.
There's like I don't know how many sides it has. It has a bunch of them, and each side is like the energy use, every single FUD thing. So you can just roll it, and then you could give that to somebody who's skeptical, and they just roll it, and then you answer. Like you actually get the answer.
I feel like somebody was here last week doing the same thing. Maybe it's the same person.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, who cares? I don't know. I mean,
check out Michael Camilo's super chat there.
Oh wow, nice. Maple
Bitcoin rocks. Cheers, Michael. $20. Orange sticker. Love that.
We appreciate you.
On that note, you guys, somebody said that we're going to be switching to Satoshis. Let me share an article here that was posted in Bloomberg today. So this is pretty cool. So it says Christopher Salas sells coffee from a tiny sidewalk stand in downtown La Paz, Bolivia. Bolivia's capital, sorry. Most of his customers pay him in Bolivianos, but some buy with Satoshis, the smallest unit of Bitcoin. A QR code displayed at the kiosk links to his crypto wallet from Blink, a Salvadoran company, Salvadoran company. I'm not the only one using Bitcoin, he says. There's a barbershop and a gym that also accept Satoshis.
Yeah.
Salas says doing business with crypto isn't just a practical move. It's also a form of rebellion. For me, it's a way to preserve the value of my savings, but also a way to go against the system, against bureaucracy.
Where was this published?
Love that. It was on Bloomberg.
Wow.
Wow.
Like I don't know how more mainstream you could get than Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Referring to Bitcoin as Satoshis.
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of our story here, is switching from Bitcoin to Satoshis. And people will, the nominal bias will at least get taken away at that point.
Jason here says, Raj, live here. Kurt says, people have no idea the masses will be forced to work for Bitcoin. I don't think so. I mean, I see your point there, but I also think that the best talent, the people who add the most value, are going to want Satoshis. They're not going to be forced to. They're going to be demanded to be paid in Bitcoin because it just makes sense. Just like businesses are going to be demanded to be paid in Bitcoin for their products and services. If you have enough value as a person or a business, you can charge whatever you want to. And the common sense play, once people understand this, is Bitcoin.
I get where Kurtz is coming from here, though. There's going to be a lot of people who don't accept Bitcoin, who don't like Bitcoin, who don't want anything to do with it. And in their case, see, one of the things about Bitcoin is it goes the game theory. It goes into that game theory aspect of things, right? So if somebody wants to be paid in fiat, then they're going to continue to be paid in fiat, because why would you want to give away your Bitcoin? If you're a Bitcoiner, you're not going to force somebody to take your Bitcoin from you. Your goal is to just hold on to that Bitcoin. If I get what he's saying there, people will be forced to work for Bitcoin, because at some point I do think that merchants aren't going to accept dollars. Right. So at that point, there's nothing that they can do. Like, they have to work for Bitcoin. And at that point, the only way to get Bitcoin will probably be to do some kind of physical labor that robots can't do, or some kind of creative work where maybe they are building their own brand. But if they're willing to accept fiat, they'll be able to get fiat. I don't think they're going to be forced into it. If anything, they'll be forced into it because they won't be able to buy any of the things that they want.
Right. Yep. I agree with that. Okay, boys, we need to,
we got 3 super chats.
Lots of super chats.
We needed a little bit of a timeout here because it's 3:05 Eastern time. We're going over for our Maple Bitcoin happy hour in about 15 or 20 minutes from now. We got some super chats. We got some zaps we need to address. Do you remember what our email address is for us? maplebitcoin@proton.me, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to throw that up there because somebody said that they have an idea or a business idea. Who do you talk to? Shoot it there. Maplebitcoin oh, that's not the right one. maplebitcoin@proton.me. That's our contact information. So shoot it there. We can't guarantee we'll get back to you, but we'll probably see it. But we got a big zap here. Somebody wanted to outdo Matt. I think they sent in 21,889 sats and said, shout out Maple Bitcoin with a couple of the hang 10 symbols there. So that's huge. That's massive. Thank you to whoever that was. Daniel looks like sent in 2,888 sats. And he had a question here, or a comment, and I'll address it. He said, will you show my YouTube channel? This is Citadel Daniel. So of course, you sent in some sats. We'll return the favor to you. So here it is right here. I'll bring it up on screen even for you, Daniel.
I'm going to get the link so we can paste that as well.
Perfect. So there it is. Citadel Daniel, let's get him to over 100 subscribers right this second. We're going to go on strike. We're going to take a Maple Bitcoin strike until every single person watching the show right now presses the like button and subscribes to Daniel's YouTube channel. So we don't know how long the strike is going to be here. It could be 10 seconds. It could be 10 minutes, but make sure you do both. Like the channel, subscribe to Maple Bitcoin, subscribe to Citadel Daniel. And I would say that was 2,888 sats worth the cost.
Yeah, he went from 97 to 98 already when I refreshed.
There we go.
Let's
sats
go.
well spent.
There we go. 100 subs already.
Nice.
Wow.
And then we got one more here. 1,111 sats from WorkSave Bitcoin over on Coino. So thank you.
That he's got a YouTube channel as well that everyone should go subscribe to.
WorkSave Bitcoin. Is that what it's called, right? WorkSave Bitcoin?
That's what it's called. Yeah. You search that up and you'll find it. I'll also post it.
Kind of my thesis on that is like, people need to understand that the Bitcoin network, all of us are working in the same direction. And so when you see somebody like Daniel, when you see somebody like WorkSave Bitcoin, just subscribe. It's free to do. It helps push this thing forward. It helps reach more of an audience. And you can always unsubscribe later. If they start talking about things you don't agree with, or they're pissing you off, posting too much, you can unsubscribe. But always give people the benefit of the doubt. Support Bitcoiners any way that you can. Like their videos, subscribe to their channels. It actually does make a very big difference. And I know we come from the fiat mentality of like the dog eat dog world where, if I subscribe, it's going to take away from me. That's not Bitcoin at all. The Bitcoin ecosystem is moving all together. And the more together we are, the stronger we are, I think.
Yep.
Agreed.
All right, let's go
so some super chats.
US SBR balance by end of year. We don't even know what the current balance is.
Well, I believe there's kind of two different numbers. So there's 200,000 that they own, but part of that is actually not theirs. It needs to go back to customers and victims of scams and fraudulent exchanges and stuff. So through a Freedom of Information Act, it was discovered that they own like 30,000 of that, like completely outright, and then the rest is sort of up for debate. So that would be my answer to that.
That's brutal. So what do you think is going to be at the end of the year?
30,000. I mean,
they're not going to buy it.
I have very little faith in. I mean, I'm pretty black-pilled when it comes to politics. I'll just say that flat out. But Bo Hines has been talking about, we need to get as much Bitcoin as possible. Why are you still talking about it? Just do it. Like, you don't front run yourself and tell everybody else to buy Bitcoin. You just buy Bitcoin. You don't have to keep talking about it. So so I have very little faith in that aspect of it. But
maybe they're just doing it for votes.
They could, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they forget about all the things that politicians do wrong when they promise something that they're going to do that these people like, right? So maybe they're just doing it for votes. You never know.
Yeah, and I have my expectations extremely low, especially with anything political, so that if anything good happens, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I saw a meme today of somebody chirping Germany for selling all their Bitcoin at 57K. And I was like, it is what it is. Even when we're talking about the US strategic reserve and all this stuff, it's like, I'm actually happy that Canada doesn't have a bunch of Bitcoin. You know why? Because I don't want the Canadian government, as sick and twisted as they are, to have any more power. So I'm fine. I'm fine having more Bitcoin than my country, because I don't care about my country's government. They've done more than enough damage to the citizens here, and I hope that they never own Bitcoin personally. So I know it's kind of good for like strategic or national security sense, but like, I don't know. What do you guys think about that quickly?
Yeah, it should be us plebs that have Bitcoin. I don't care about the government. Again, I don't want the government to have power. I think we as individuals should have power, and Bitcoin is power.
I agree.
Nav says, when I get rich from Bitcoin, there will be signs. I will be playing RuneScape full time.
Dude, I grew up playing RuneScape. That was like my game as a kid. I loved RuneScape. So I'm there. I'm right there with you now.
Gronky Talk Man, looks like the super chats are going through now for you. It says, what are your thoughts on using stable coins or Bitcoin to set aside money for taxes due in 7 or 8 months? I think you really have to look at where we are right now. Like we spent the first 45 minutes of the show talking about why we're so excited for like the next year, 2, 3, 4, whatever that may be. I think that that's a pretty good idea. I think you should try to find the most tax efficient way to do that possible. If you bought Bitcoin today, maybe when your taxes come due, you could actually take a loan against that Bitcoin without having to sell it. There's a lot of different things you can do with it, but I definitely think it is much better than storing it in a savings account.
You can also set up a payment plan
with the tax bureau.
Yeah.
You can
delay as much as you can for as long as you can here. That's what I've been doing in my life.
Here's another strategy that you could figure out is you could estimate how much you owe, and then you could put the cash into a yield bearing instrument, say Stretch, for example, something that when you sell, there's not going to be any capital gains because it's going to be even. And then you arbitrage the 9% that you gain, you calculate how much you're going to earn from that so that you're fully able to pay off your tax burden with just selling Stretch and the interest accrued from that. And that difference, you minus that difference that you're gaining from the 9%, and you take that and you invest it in something else like Bitcoin. That would be a strategy to arbitrage the time that you have before having to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Look at this. Daniel hit 109.
Wow. Amazing.
We can get that up. We can go higher than that. Person says, step 1, don't waste money on live streams. That's a poor person's mentality. That's not wasting money. What we just talked about there, the 3 of us showing up here every Friday, you're obviously tuning into it. You're hopefully finding some value from it. And the people who are supporting us through Zaps, through Super Chats, through things like that, school page, it's what keeps us coming back. So if nobody was supporting the channel here, we would not be sitting here today. So it's definitely not a waste. It's just that's a poor mentality.
Here's the other thing, right? Gronky Tonk Man just asked a question that cost him $5. We answered that question. We literally don't have time to answer everybody else's question, but we answered his because he did replace by fee. He paid a fee to get his block into the transaction, or his transaction into the block, and we answered that. And maybe our advice will make him a lot more money than $5.
Yeah.
Bingo. Bingo, bango, bongo. And speaking of good advice and good investments, we got our Maple Bitcoin happy hour starting in exactly 16 minutes from now. So it's going to be, it's awesome. We've done 2 of them now, and it's a good chance for the members. There's 150 Bitcoiners from around this planet. Our goal is to have at least 1 Bitcoiner in every country on the globe in the community here. And we're going to be going live in 15 minutes from now. So the nice thing about that is you don't have to be in the chat. You can actually turn your video on. You can turn your microphone on. You can add some context to your questions. We've had some really good questions come in the last couple of weeks in the happy hours. And the nice thing too is that even if you have to miss it, even if you're busy at this time, we've been sharing the recorded version of it. So it's kind of like almost like a speakeasy where it's things we don't really want to talk about on the YouTube channel here in public. Yeah. More in-depth questions. So again, it's one of those things where you spend $20 and it could save you $20,000 or $200,000 down the road, based on the advice and the information that we give in there.
We also have exclusive content on there. We've recorded master classes that are very in-depth on specific subjects that you get access to when joining the school. And we have a 7-day free trial. So if you join it, you could just binge all our content, if you really, really wanted to, and then cancel it if you wanted. But, if you found value, there's a lot more value beyond just what we've already provided. There's the community aspect as well, which is totally underrated in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got one more live session. Super chat there.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah.
Make sure we get to it.
I just wanted to share this because we have the fundamentals that we've been doing once a week. So this is an hour long, 43 minutes, 49 minutes, episode 4, the one we did yesterday, which is going to be uploaded today, which is What is Bitcoin Part 2. I think that those 2 hours, this one and episode 4, are probably going to be the most valuable 2 hours you ever spend in Bitcoin. in terms of really understanding what this asset is, growing your conviction. And I think there's nothing more powerful than that in Bitcoin. And then, of course, using your Bitcoin as collateral to get more Bitcoin. So these are all exclusive masterclass videos that we do that are only for the community here. And so, yeah, you get the community, you get the private Q&As every week, happy hours, and you get exclusive access to stuff like that, our masterclasses. So consider joining if you have not yet, and big shout out to everybody who has. So very easy to find, school.com/Maple Bitcoin. That's our custom link there. So hopefully we have some people joining, and looking forward to that in 13 minutes from now. So last super chat here from Nature Nick. One of you guys want to read this?
How can I turn my paycheck into Bitcoin cash flow that covers bills and builds wealth?
I mean, you can get cash flow multiple ways. So you can borrow against your Bitcoin, which would add some risk because you could get liquidated if there is a bear market. Let's say that guy Human God is right and it goes to 30K. There's a bear market, you get liquidated, you could lose a lot of your Bitcoin, or you could probably lose all of your Bitcoin in that case if it goes that low. So make sure that if you do borrow against your Bitcoin, make sure your loan to value is low. So make sure that you borrow against a very small portion of your stack. Let's say, for example, you want to use 5% of your stack as collateral. If you have $100,000 worth of Bitcoin today, your 5% of your stack would be like 0.05 Bitcoin. You'd be able to get half of that as a loan. So if you use 5% of your stack as collateral, you'll be able to get 2.5% of your stack as a loan. And then what you could do is over time, you could roll that over and roll that over. As Bitcoin's price goes up, your loan to value will continue to decrease. And eventually your loan to value is going to be so small that you won't even really have to worry about paying it back at some point. And that's one of the great things. That's a really easy way to get cash quickly if you want to use Bitcoin. Keep in mind that there are other ways to borrow money as well. You can go to you can use a personal line of credit, you can use a credit card. But the alternative to that, let's say, for example, if you don't have any of that available to you and you don't have Bitcoin, are you going to go to a payday lender and pay 300% in interest? With Bitcoin loans, you could do it for 12, 10%. In certain cases. With a bank, you could probably get 10% personal lines of credit. So what I would personally say is use your paycheck to pay for your expenses, and then buy Bitcoin with the money that you don't need immediately. Make sure that you're not in that situation where you can't pay for your expenses and you go homeless. I think that would be that would be terrible. And then Bitcoin crashes at the same time. So you bought all this Bitcoin, you lose your job, and Bitcoin crashes. So now you're down to 10% of the wealth that you were supposed to have, and you have to sell it to pay for your expenses, and you end up with nothing, right? So don't put yourself in that position. Try to get rid of some of the risk. You could sell some of your Bitcoin to get cash flow. I think that's a good way to do it as well. You could continue to just create value, right? That's what we do here. We just try to create as much value as we can. Continue creating value no matter what, even though we are you guys consuming less than you produce? Like, are you able to save?
Yes.
So we're doing that. And I think other people can do that in certain situations. Of course, that's very difficult. But Forrest just had a child and he's still doing that. So find a way. You can I guarantee you that you can find a way. Don't even think about turning your Bitcoin into cash flow. Think about how you can create cash flow from creating value.
Yeah, Bitcoin is not natively a cash flowing asset. And so if you're getting cash flow from your Bitcoin, it's because you're taking risks with that collateral in some sense, whether you're lending it out, God forbid, hopefully not, whether you're taking a loan against it, which can work, right? The idea there is if you're over collateralized enough with it, that it just has the Bitcoin's value just has to outpace the loan payments over time. 12% loan payment, Bitcoin's CAGR 25 to 60%, right? So it just outpaces that loan. You can also sell covered calls, not against Bitcoin exactly, but a Bitcoin derivative or custodial Bitcoin in an ETF, but you're taking on risk there, right? Operational risk and potentially capping upside and all sorts of stuff. So There's no easy way to turn Bitcoin into cash flow because Bitcoin is money. It is cash, right? It is money, and it raises in purchasing power, and in total return sense, it's going up in value. And if you really needed to, you could sell little bits of that as your income to supplement if you had to, right? That's also taking profits. That's the same thing as cash flow if you're having to use your Bitcoin to purchase things.
Bitcoin stacker of last resort, RIP retail cycles, January 2009 to January 2024. I mean, that's pretty accurate, I would say. That's pretty accurate. And that's, you know, when Wall Street entered the game, that's when things changed. And so anybody who's trying to tell you that this time isn't any different, it is. And Saylor said that very early on in terms of the 10-year bull run that we're going to be going through, the golden age or the gold rush, I guess I should say the Bitcoin gold rush. And we're kind of living through that right now.
Yeah.
That famous quote that the guy said, you know, like, you know, this time is different, and people, you know, get wrecked by believing that. Again, Saylor said that the guy who made that quote, his quote isn't up on the walls of any halls. You know, he's not a world-renowned economist or anything, because that's only true until it's not. So as much as this time is different can wreck people sometimes, believing that every time is different can also wreck people, because change is a constant. Change happens, right? And eventually this time is not different.
Really great comment from Johnny there. That's so important. Your mindset is everything. If you don't think that you can be wealthy, then you won't be wealthy. Right? If you don't think that you can build wealth and create value, then you're not going to be able to. So don't say poor mindset things. Really great comment.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, we got one more Zap that came through the airwaves here. 99 sats. Shout out to Wayne Gretzky, great Canadian. I think that was our buddy Scotty. He usually sends in the 99 sats there. So once again there, we can, we'll start wrapping things up. I don't know. There's a question here of how long they have until they can send a super chat over. I think we got about, I don't know, 2 minutes max here. So if the question can't be answered in 2 minutes, I would say instead of sending a super chat, join the Maple community and you can actually ask us the question in person, which is pretty cool. So
digitally in person.
Right. Yeah. I should say that.
With audio and video if you wanted. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, speaking of poor mindsets, we actually shared a video on the channel yesterday. It was about an hour long, and typically hour-long videos don't perform that well, but we got a lot of really good feedback on it. So just in case you're not yet, I mean, we talked about it already a little bit here, but I see there's 400 people in here, and 54 people of those are actually on our own Maple Bitcoin stream. So make sure if you haven't yet, you press the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our Maple Bitcoin channel. And check out the video that we did yesterday. We posted a video called Poor People Benefit the Most from Bitcoin, Rich Men versus Poor Men. And we talked about the mindset of a poor person and a mindset of a rich person and how Bitcoin will actually impact that there. Did you just share that link there, Forrest?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
In the private chat as well, if you guys wanted to share it.
Okay. So we're going to hop over to, we're going to take a little bathroom. Oh, wrong chat. Oops. We're going to take a little bathroom break. To the people who are in Maple Bitcoin School community, we will be there in about 5 minutes. If you're not in the Maple Bitcoin community yet, last chance to join. But if not, again, all these recorded sessions are going to be there, so you can actually go back and watch last Fridays, the Fridays before that. And I think that these sessions, they're about an hour long usually. I think that they're going to be the most valuable for people. So we love the live streams on YouTube, but this is just kind of the next level of that.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys over there for everyone who's joined. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining this live stream and asking your questions and being a part of the community here on Maple Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
And give the video a thumbs up before you go.
Right. Don't forget to like, don't forget to love, don't forget to zap, and don't forget to join the Maple Bitcoin School community. So thanks everybody once again. Happy Friday. Have yourselves an amazing weekend. Thanks for being here, spending some time with us. And we will see you either in 5 minutes from now or next Friday. Thanks, fellas.